So, man, I've had. So I said I live here in Houston. I've got friends that are Muslim. I know men in AA that are Muslim. The thing is that I think there is just and it's I see where you're coming from with that angle, and I think number one, just most men have this kind of macho thing going on, but it's definitely what I could see with my friends that are Muslim. There's even more pressure to be this man, right? There's even more pressure to don't show any weakness. And the thing is that I did feel that quite a bit, and I'll just tell you that that makes the recovery process a lot harder because you need to get honest with yourself about what is really going on, and you need to be, if you're going to attack this thing, no matter how you do it. Let me be very clear that I believe that there are absolutely different roads to recovery. I don't think that the 12 steps are the only way. I'm speaking from my experience. This is what has worked for me personally, and I tried other ways that just did not work. So let me say that. But the thing is that for someone to recover, period, they're going to have to be open-minded to new ideas. Okay, they're going to have to be vulnerable, more than likely, to really be able to move on from this thing. And I would say for me, I don't know that it was that difficult. When you have gone through what I've gone through, and like you said, you sat in an AA meeting and you felt like there was some emotion and there was some connection there. And the thing is that this takes people to different lows in their lives, okay? But once you have been, I mean, just straightforward, to put it lightly, beaten down to a certain point, you're a little more receptive, and you can kind of push some of those things aside that say, okay, I'm a man, I'm proud, like I can't show any emotion. Now, do I think that it's an issue overall? I do. I think that, when words like depression are used, words like, addiction, like we're talking about, are used, people and men especially are very hesitant to use these words. And that's part of the problem, and the thing is that, kind of like you were saying, within the Muslim community, addiction is super underreported, and these aren't opinions. This is based on fact. Like, it's super underreported, and it's an interesting thing because like where I come from, or with a lot of people, there part of the issue is lack of community, lack of community, lack of connection. And what I see, just as an outsider kind of looking in, is that part of the issue in the Muslim community is that the community is so strong. And so what happens is that there are not many options for someone to find recovery. And so what gets reported a lot of the time is like women, for instance, who are struggling with addiction issues. They have to find options that are outside of their community, where physically they are going somewhere where they will not be seen by anyone in their community. And really, I think overall, no matter what your background is, Muslim or otherwise, we need to have these options available to men and women in our own communities, because if we don't, this is just going to continue, and we can't ignore this problem. It is only getting worse. It's getting worse and worse day by day. So I know that's a long way to answer the question, do I find it challenging to deal with my emotions? But, I think the thing is that when someone is ready to, make this change, I think it's just something that part of what you have to embrace. You just have to do things differently. And there's this saying, nothing changes if nothing changes. And if I'm going to sit here and act like this macho tough guy that's got it all figured out on the outside, but on the inside, I'm falling apart, then, it's a lose-lose situation, So I have come to be absolutely okay with expressing my emotions and saying, and realizing that I need to be able to say, hey, I'm not doing okay. I need help.
Yeah, it's so true. And like I'm so happy to bring this up because I have been talking about it on my Insta stories and mentioning how, you know, because I've seen it with my family, for example, I've seen it around people, and like other people agree with me that men do struggle in communicating their emotions, expressing their emotions, as in like it's not okay for the man to cry. Like yes, it is, and all of that because of the society expectation of him. You know, he got to have the job, especially like within the Muslim communities, for example. Like you know, we're not allowed to be dating, for example,
Mm-hmm.
like, and that adds an extra pressure on the man, you know, if he doesn't have that job or that income or proposing to the woman, blah 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 blah. It goes on and on and on. Like there's so much
Sure.
pressure on
Sure.
the man. I mean, of course on the woman as well, but I feel like that, and I'm
Mm.
saying from experience of seeing it in my own like life, whether it's a family or not, it exists. And even with high school students and like you know God forbid, hopefully not middle school, but it exists in like teenager life too. And that's when I struggle with my own eating problems in teenager life, and they are the most vulnerable, and they are the one who really need that support. But I feel like it's not there yet. Like we're getting there, but
Mm.
it's not. And like what
No.
I'm, because you and I are like in a similar age, millennials, and over 10 years ago when I was in high school, my neighbor's husband, like, you know, he was like looking into the Google database or whatnot, and like he said the most searched or on online and what have you, the drugs and stuff, the majority of the population were actually like young Muslim high schoolers, and you know, so that was over 10 years ago, and I'm pretty sure it exists.
Yeah.
So what's your
Yeah.
experience? I mean, since you're from Houston, I know we talked about
Mm-hmm.
it, how it's highly populated with Muslims.
Mm-hmm.
You agree with that, right? You still see it.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, look, like let's just be honest. Kids are doing this stuff, and every generation coming up behind me, it almost when I was in high school, like man, we were smoking weed and stuff, like we were partying. I mean, that's just that's what it was. That's who I was at the time, and it was stupid. Like I know that.